this car for about 3 years now, I'm going to tell you 5 things that I've learned about owning a classic Alfa like this. Because honestly, these cars are like nothing else on the road, nothing you've ever owned before. And in a lot of good ways. So I'm going to go through those now. Okay, we start with number 1. And it's the reason why I chose a classic Alfa in the first place. And that's because these cars are fun to drive at any speeds. And on the road, where we've got speed cameras, we've got policemen on every corner looking to book you and send you to prison, that is really valuable. So why is it fun at all speeds? Well, this car is a 1300 twin cam Alfa Giulia Super. And it revs to just over 6. And it develops about 90 horsepower on the dyno. And it's got very little torque, so you really have to use every one of those RPMs to even get anywhere, to even keep up with lorries as we're doing now. And I tell you, in this car, using all those revs is an absolute joy, because I got some Pipercross filters on those carbs, and that makes a lovely induction growl, and it just becomes so intense at those high RPMs. And it means that you can use all the performance, every single drop from this 1300, and not be scared of breaking the speed limit or running over grannies or causing havoc on the roads. It means that you can just enjoy the car for what it is, and that is a raughty little sports saloon. And it's also got very little grip. I mean, we're on 175 section tyres all round, and that means you can just chuck it at corners at moderately high speed, and it will just begin to move around, and it will begin to slide at each end, and it communicates all the time through the wheel and through the seat as well. And that's the exciting part of driving, isn't it? That's what we want to feel. And modern cars, although they're great, they perform incredibly well, incredibly capable, they don't give you that at these road speeds. And you often find yourself a bit frustrated that you can't get to those limits. This car's the opposite. The limits are so low, and the performance level is so low compared to the modern stuff, that you can just enjoy it at any speeds on pretty much any roads. Even in town, you can enjoy the little induction growl. You can give it full throttle most of the time. It's just brilliant, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. Okay, number 2 is related to the first point. And that is that, again, modern cars have gotten so big these days, and they've just become little enclosures. I know it's for safety, and I know it improves crash protection and things like that. But when you jump in this after a modern car, all of a sudden you've just got a panoramic view out, and it's really, really nice. And the car feels really small. It's only 1.5 meters wide. And that means on roads like this, you can still enjoy it. You can pick your line through corners. You're not worried about bashing into things on the side of the road like a moron. And again, yeah, that visibility, you do feel quite conspicuous. I mean, you could probably see up that guy's nostrils behind us because of the rear window. But yeah, it's narrow, you can see out of the thing, and it's just refreshing compared to modern cars in that way. And then we come on to one of the main reasons why people love classics like this, and that's just how special it feels, how unique it is. It's easy to lease a Golf R and show off to your mates outside the shisha bar, but this is just unique and so special. I've never seen another Giulia on the road when I've been in this, let alone a 105 even. And with these cars, you can just make it your own. I mean, I've gone for some black leather with red stitching inside. Won't be to everyone's taste, but I love it. Taken the bumpers off, lowered the car on 15-inch Alcoholics wheels, and I personally think it looks brilliant. You might not agree, but that's for you to do with your own 105. You can make it your own. You always get waves, especially from other classic car owners, unless they're douchebags. We've encountered a few of those today. But yeah, it's just the enjoyment of driving is just magnified by the fact that you're in something special, and it always feels unique. And the environment you're in, I'm surrounded by wood, leather, thin pillars, and lovely little flourishes like the chrome on the bonnet. It just feels brilliant, and that's part of why we love driving, isn't it? We want to drive something really, really special, and an old Alfa will give you that in spades. And now we're on to number 4. Which is the fact that despite this is such a specialist item, such an unusual car, it's usable. This car's been tuned on a rolling road. It's had a thorough going over the 3 years I've owned it. and it's never put a foot wrong. Okay, we broke down once outside of prison, but that was 3 years ago when the car was in its infancy. I mean, now I use this nearly every day when it's dry, and I've got 4 big seats. And yeah, and then there's some ride comfort. I mean, modern cars, in the pursuit of performance, are going so stiff these days, and they just rattle your teeth. This thing, we actually have a low spring rate. Got some wheel travel. And over British roads, you really appreciate it. Even though this is on Alfaholic springs and dampers, it's just cassetting and going on long journeys like this. I mean, I've done nearly 300 miles today, and I could do another 300 just like that. And I get about 30 to the gallon as well, which is always good. And I love the fact that this particular car is a saloon, 4 doors, which means that you can enjoy all that fun that it gives you, as well as taking people and things on your journey. It really is brilliant. Old Alfas don't have to be unreliable, and this shows, this proves it. Okay, and before we get to number 5, my last point, please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Giulia videos, and we review classic cars, modern stuff, and make sure to turn on that bell notification icon and like the video as well. And let's go on to number 5. Not before I give it a squirt. Okay, number 5. Okay, my last point is that cars like this, especially great handling Alfa 105s, they just make you better drivers. I mean, in this car, I've got a heel and toe for every downshift, just to save the synchros. I've got to contend with unassisted steering, narrow tyres, very little grip and no driver aids, no traction control, ABS. And that really keeps you on your toes. I mean, this thing isn't rapid, so it's not exactly lighting my hairs on fire, but you do have to think about every input. And over the last 3 years that I've had this car, I've made quite a lot of modifications, like those springs and dampers, like changing bushes and ball joints, and rebuilding the steering box. And by doing that, it makes you really sensitive to small changes, because these cars will need work, and it's really rewarding to feel the difference. After every little job, you feel, oh, maybe the ride quality gets a bit better, the steering response is slightly cleaner, and that's really satisfying. And it teaches you how to maintain a car. And this isn't a highly strung machine, but you've got to check the car thoroughly before every outing, because you never know what can go wrong in these things. I've got a boot full of spares in the back just in case. But you feel more at one with the machine that way. And it's a really gratifying method of car ownership that I really enjoy. So yeah, that's 5 things you needed to know about owning a classic Alfa. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, make sure you subscribe for future Giulia videos like this one, and plenty more reviews. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao! Yeah!